For listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Dzień dobry. This is Joanne Yanitsky, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the December 11th, 2025 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. I hope everyone is well and keeping warm. Just a reminder that I've been forgetting to give at the start of the Am-Pol Eagle reading. Grab a piece of paper, a scratch pad, back of an envelope, and pencil or a crayon or a recording device, something to catch phone numbers, websites, email addresses, and maybe a recipe or two. Okay, let's dive right in. Lots of beautiful photographs on the front page. Group photo. These photos are courtesy of Christine and Dolores Palczewski. The tagline reads, "A festive celebration, Saturday, December 6th. The Chopin Singing Society Vigilia was held December 6th at Creekside Banquet Facility in Cheektowaga, New York. It included the sharing of a płatek, a traditional Vigilia meal, strolling musicians, a visit from St. Nicholas, and kolędy, led by the Chopin Singing Society." There is a group photo of the Chopin Singing Society serenading the guests. There is a photo of people sharing a płatek. There is a beautiful, it's a photo of a beautiful Christmas display, a fireplace, all done up in white and silver, I think. Kind of hard to tell, but just great. More group photos. And there will be more photos on the inside of the newspaper as we go along. Festival of Carols. The tradition continues at new location. The Polish Singers Alliance of America District 9 Annual Festival of Carols will be featured at a new venue this year, St. Gregory the Great Church, 250 St. Gregory Court in Williamsville, New York, on Sunday, January 4th, 2026 at 3 p.m. All are invited to enjoy an afternoon of kolędy and carols with a special performance of Frédéric Chopin's Scherzo, Opus 20, No. 1 in B minor, which features the beloved carol Luláže Jejuniu, performed by Melanie Baybeck. Choirs performing at this year's event, hosted by the Chopin Singing Society, are the Monsignor Peter Adamski Polish Saturday School Choir, Symphonia Choir of Hamilton, Ontario, Cantabile Choir of Oakville, Ontario, and the Chopin Singing Society. The program concludes with a performance by the combined choirs. A free will offering will be accepted. The Greater Buffalo Friends of Music, whose mission is to, quote, provide collaborative, creative, financial, and logistical support for music enrichment throughout the Western New York region, is sponsor of the event. Radio show highlights Polish Christmas traditions. The most recent episode of the Polish-American radio program features an interview with author Sophie Hodorowicz-Nab, who describes unique Polish Christmas Eve and Advent traditions. The episode also features an interview with Amelia Wróblewski, a Western New York native who recently moved to Poland. Wróblewski explains why she made the decision to settle there, as well as what Kraków looks like leading up to Christmas. The episode, which includes Polish music of the season, can be heard anytime at polishprogram.com. Program host is Andy Gołębiowski. The program can also be heard live every Saturday at 11 a.m. on the radio at AM 1440, FM 105.3, or online at webrradio.com. There is a photograph. It says it's a file photo. Shopka artist Dave Motek of Pittsburgh. And he's holding what appears to be some sort of a castle. I don't know what it is. It's not a big picture, so it's kind of hard to tell what is decorating the castle, but it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Looks like something you'd put on an end table, or maybe on the table in your front window, so everyone could see. Looks to be maybe 2.5 feet tall at least. Okay, let's jump across the pond to Polish news bites. There's a U.S. Army photo of a tank. Poland accepts U.S. offer of 250 used Strykers. The government in Warsaw has agreed to accept an offer from the United States to transfer 250 used Stryker armored vehicles for a nominal $1. According to the plan, the vehicles, currently stationed in Europe, would be handed over to Poland instead of being shipped back to the United States after a force reduction. Poland's general staff reportedly endorsed the deal, and the nation's deputy prime minister and defense minister, Władysław Koźniak-Kamysz, said Warsaw is ready to accept the offer as soon as logistics are arranged. Polish Army to help protect power grid from drone threats. In light of recent drone incursions and sabotage concerns, the Polish Army has entered into a cooperation agreement with the National Power Grid Operator, PSE, to bolster protection of critical energy infrastructure. The deal, according to Reuters, includes joint training, intelligence sharing, and possibly acquiring anti-drone technologies to safeguard high-voltage lines and transformer stations across Poland. The government stressed that protecting the power grid is a strategic priority, given Poland's central role linking Baltic energy networks with wider Europe, and underlines growing worry over external threats to national infrastructure. Poland passes law to ban fur farming. Poland, once the world's second-largest fur producer, has passed legislation that will ban fur farming over the next 8 years, a major milestone for animal welfare and the global fashion industry. The law provides severance support for farm workers and incentives for farms to shut down early, acknowledging both economic and social consequences of the transition. Observers note that Poland's move could accelerate a broader push toward an EU-wide ban on fur farming, reshaping supply chains and signaling a shift in societal values. Polish swimmer sets a new national record. At the 2025 European Short Course Swimming Championships in Lublin, Poland, rising Polish swimmer Justyna Kozan clinched gold in the women's 400-meter individual medley, setting a new national record with a time of 4 minutes, 28.56 seconds. Her time shattered the previous Polish record, held since 2007, and came just days after compatriot Kasia Wasik won the women's 50-meter freestyle event. Polish Christmas cribs. Żłobek, szopka, stajenka, betlejki, jasiołka. This is the best of the late Robert Stribel, Polish-Polonian affairs writer. Ever since St. Francis of Assisi pioneered the world's first live nativity scene back in the 13th century, the depiction of Jesus' birth has become an integral part of the world culture. Across Europe, one can encounter a great variety of Christmas cribs ranging from basic to elaborate, traditional to contemporary, from homespun to made-in-China plastic kitsch, all the way to true works of art. But nearly all of them fall into one of two categories. In southern Europe, the Holy Family is portrayed in a stone grotto or cave. That is probably closer to the original shelter in the largely treeless and desert-like Middle East, where wood was too expensive for something as lowly as a sheep shed. But northern Europeans adapted our Savior's birthplace to the kinds of structures they were most familiar with. Hence, usually it took the shape or wooden, often thatched roof, stable, cowshed, or barn. Some of the best-known Polish nativity scenes include permanent nativity depiction. These are usually found in churches in the form of carved wooden altars or those sculpted in marble or other stone. Nativity scenes are also found in paintings, murals, and stained glass windows. Churches named after the Holy Family sometimes have a nativity scene adorning the building's facade. Occasionally, a chapel honoring the Nativity is found on the parish grounds. Szopka Krakowska. The Kraków creche, or crib, resembles neither a cave nor a stable. This shimmering cathedral-like structure is a unique urban folk art form, roughly patterned after that city's Kościół Mariacki, or Marian Church. Each year in early December, a crib-making contest is held in Kraków, and the Szopki Krakowskie, ranging in size from 2 to 3 inches to 10 feet or more, are displayed in the city's main square. Static nativity scene. This is the traditional and most common type of manger scene, comprising scale or life-size figures of the Holy Family, shepherds, sheep, cow, and donkey. On January 6th, figures of the three kings are added, as the tableau remains up until February 2nd. It is usually displayed at a church's side altar or outdoors on the parish grounds. Smaller versions of this type of manger scene are displayed in Polish homes, often beneath the Christmas tree or on a windowsill. Mechanical moving creche. These have been around since the 19th century and are still popular. Typically, a mechanical device allows small New Testament figures, national heroes, and other outstanding individuals to file past the Holy Family. Sometimes, non-nativity figures such as skiers or skaters, cartoon-style animals, or Disney characters are included as a side attraction for the kiddies. During the Christmas season, many families with children visit such moving tableaux. Living Christmas crib. This form of creche has become extremely popular in Poland. Sometimes only the Christ child is represented by a doll, but a real live infant plays the role when one is available. The remaining figures are all volunteer parishioners. The animals often go beyond the traditional sheep, cattle, and donkeys and include ponies, goats, llamas, rabbits, poultry, and other creatures not mentioned in the Gospel. This fusion of a religion lesson and petting zoo is especially liked by the parents of young children. Portable carolers creche. In the days of widespread house-to-house caroling, 2 carolers would carry a small wooden stable housing a nativity scene and mounted on wooden poles, followed by the traditional star-bearer, angel, devil, grim reaper, King Herod, etc. This was, in effect, a roving nativity play. In addition to kolędy, the kolędnicy would sing songs and recite poems of well-wishing and receive some treats or a few coins in exchange. Nowadays, Polish children's magazines often contain cardboard fold-out cribs, which can also be used when making house-to-house rounds. Well, that was certainly an enlightening article from our late dear friend, Robert Stibel. It's time to take our first break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Wittkowski to lead a snowy celebration. The Cheektowaga Community Symphony Orchestra, led by its music director, Dr. Thomas Wittkowski, is giving a free concert Sunday, December 14th at 3 p.m. at St. Andrew Church, 30 Francis Avenue in Sloan, New York. The title of the concert is A Snowy Celebration, featuring holiday favorites, where we also welcome soprano Leslie Baller. Bring your singing voice for our annual holiday sing-along. Tay's Prayer Service Set. Assumption Church, 435 Amherst Street in Buffalo, is hosting an Advent Tay's Prayer Service on Monday, December 15th at 6:30 p.m. The Tays community is an ecumenical Christian monastic community in France known for its contemplative atmosphere and use of simple, repetitive music. The prayer service will include scripture readings and music in the Tays style, with subdued lighting to help lead us into the joyful waiting of Advent. In this busy season preparing for Christmas, it is meant to help participants focus on preparing their hearts to make a home for Jesus at Christmas. All are welcome. Let's jump to Polonia's calendar. We have Sunday, December 14th, Christmas in Polonia. Noon Mass at St. Stanislaus Church, 389 Peckham Street in Buffalo, New York, followed by Polish Saturday School, Jaselka, traditional Vigilia, and Christmas music with Captain Tom and the Hooligans in the Social Center. Tickets are $25 for adults, $10 for children 4 to 12 years old. Under 4 are free. Pre-sale table of 10 is $225. You can RSVP to Mira Schrammel. Phone number 716-903-3242. Again, 716-903-3242. Sunday, December 14th, Kalina Singing Society Vigilia Luncheon. It's at the Polish Falcons Club Room, 445 Columbia Avenue in Depew, New York at 1 p.m. Tickets are $45. You can call 716-867-3161. Again, 716-867-3161. On Thursday, December 18th, from 4 to 7 p.m., Penance and Vesper service at St. Adalbert Basilica, 212 Stanislaus Street in Buffalo, New York. Saturday, December 20th, open doors at St. Adalbert Basilica, again, 212 Stanislaus Street in Buffalo, New York, showing the vintage AM&A's Christmas display 2 to 5 p.m. Donations gratefully accepted toward our stained glass window restoration project. Christmas chocolate will be on sale. Wednesday, December 24th, Christmas Eve Mass at St. Adalbert Basilica, 4 p.m., 212 Stanislaus Street. Father Cole Webster is the celebrant. Music by Brittany Mruchek. Also, the AM&A's vintage Christmas figurines will be on display. Saturday, December 27th, again, open doors at St. Adalbert Basilica, 212 Stanislaus Street, showing the vintage AMNA's Christmas display. That's noon to 4 p.m. on Saturday, December 27th. On Sunday, December 28th, a Christmas concert at St. Adalbert Basilica, featuring the St. John Paul II Schola Cantorum. Doors open at 1 p.m., concert is at 2 p.m. Again, the AMNA Vintage Window Display will be featured. Saturday, January 3rd, Polish-American Congress of Western New York Christmas Party. The Clement Mansion, 786 Delaware Avenue in Buffalo. It's at 6 p.m. Members are $35, non-members $45. If you show up at the door the same day, it's $50. RSVP2, phone number 716-864-6110. Again, 716-864-6110. And wrapping up the Polonia calendar, Sunday, January 4th, 2026, Polish Singers Alliance District 9 Festival of Carols. 3 p.m., St. Gregory the Great Church, 200 St. Gregory Court in Williamsville, New York. Lots of wonderful, wonderful holiday Christmas events with Kolende. And boy, would I like to see those AMNA character display. I remember going downtown, which was a really big deal, when Mom took 3 little girls on the bus downtown in the evening, and we walked by AMNA's to see the beautiful, beautiful displays. Broadway Market kicks off holiday shopping season. Buffalo Mayor Christopher P. Scanlon encouraged residents to shop local this holiday season. He issued this request as the historic Broadway Market gears up for the start of its holiday shopping season, taking place every Saturday in December and Christmas Eve. Mayor Scanlon said, "The Broadway Market has been a cherished Buffalo tradition since 1888, bringing families and friends together to support local businesses and celebrate the season. This is your chance to shop local, enjoy delicious treats, and be part of an iconic community tradition." End quote. The holiday season at the Buffalo Market will include unique foods, beverages, crafts, live music, and special gifts. There will be pictures with Santa, as well as a free holiday train and wine show on the weekend before Christmas. For more information, website www.broadwaymarket.org. Advent, a rich in meaning invitation. This is an article by Benjamin Fiore, Society of Jesus, Canisius University. In the season of Advent, 2 Latin words help us grasp the meaning of the liturgical season. The first is the Latin verb advenire, which means to come to. This Latin verb gives us our English word Advent, the name of the season itself. It helps us understand that during Advent, we are waiting for Jesus to come to us. We most often see this as a time of preparation for the celebration of Christmas, when Jesus came to earth, lived among us, and brought us the forgiveness of our sins and the restoration of our relationship with God by his ministry, death, and resurrection. But this was Jesus' first coming. The Church Fathers also spoke of Jesus' second coming in the Spirit. This reminds us that Jesus came to us in baptism and abides with us throughout our lives. Thus, Advent is a time for us to put our spiritual selves in order so that we can fully welcome the merciful Spirit of Jesus fully into our lives. The early church fathers also spoke of Jesus' third coming. That is in glory to complete God's plan of restoration of all things to their original state of holiness and order, and to establish the kingdom of heaven. The final judgment is part of this expectation. Thus, Advent is a time for us to look ahead to the final coming of Jesus, when all shall rise and receive final blessing or punishment. The second Latin word is rorate, from the Latin version of Isaiah 45:8, which reads, Rorate caeli de super et nubes pluant justum. And that translates to drop down dew, you heavens from above, and let the clouds rain down the just man. This verse is used as the entrance antiphon on the fourth Sunday of Advent and expresses the church's longing for the coming of the Messiah. In Poland, the verse has given rise to rorati masses. These masses are said early in the morning while it is still dark. The congregation lights candles, thus providing the only illumination in the church. This symbolizes the expectation of the faithful for the coming of Jesus, who brings light into the world at his coming, as John's Gospel declares. In John's prologue in the first chapter, Jesus is identified as the eternal life-giving light that illuminates humanity, contrasting with darkness and sin. John repeats this in chapter 8, verse 12, where Jesus declares that he is the light of the world. The rorati masses express the congregation's anticipation of Jesus' coming, both as Word made flesh in Bethlehem and as the source of spirit and life for all who believe. In addition, another candle, decorated with greenery and white cloth, is placed in the sanctuary to symbolize Mary, whose yes to the angel Gabriel brought Jesus, the light, into the world. The liturgical season of Advent is therefore one of waiting for the coming of Jesus, the Messiah. The words used in the season are rich in meaning and invite us to deep reflection and prayer. There is a lovely, it is in black and white, but it is a lovely photograph above this article. And it's a wreath. It's a Christmas wreath, probably fir, and it's got some ornaments on it. And there are 4 Advent candles lit, reminding us of the 4th Sunday in Advent. The first 3 candles are purple, and you light the first purple candle on the first Sunday in Advent, the second purple candle on the second Sunday in Advent, third on the third Sunday of Advent. The pink one is lit on the 4th Sunday of Advent, because after that is the big day. Let's take our next break. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. We're going to jump to our friend Tom Tadapachki and Tom Talk. Now, I can't wait to see what he's got to say here. The title of this article is Both Loved and Hated, Pigeons Made Their Presence Felt. And there is a photograph of pigeons in Krakow. And boy, there's a lot of them. And I don't know if somebody is feeding them, throwing crumbs down. Not quite sure what's going on in the picture, except that there's a lot of pigeons. You can see some people in the distance. And it's in, you can tell it's in some sort of city square type place. But let's see what Tom has to tell us. A recent episode of the Polish-American radio program featured an attempted pigeon theft on Buffalo's east side 100 years ago. Host Andy Gołębiowski recounted the incident on Miller Avenue and also recalled how commonplace pigeon coops were not so long ago. That made me think about people in my old neighborhood who kept pigeons. In particular, there was Ziggy, who lived across the street from me on Sweet Avenue, a large Polish native who spoke little English. It was fascinating to watch his loving interactions with his beloved birds. The domestication of pigeons goes back more than 5,000 years ago, and they have been valued by humans as messengers, food, and pets. Homing pigeons were widely used to deliver messages and were especially valuable during times of war. Not native to America, the domestic pigeon was brought here by the colonists in the early 17th century. Sometime in the 18th century, Europeans became interested in fancy pigeons, and breeders there greatly expanded the variety of pigeons. Today, there are more than 300 different breeds. Pigeon breeding and racing became popular hobbies among immigrant communities in Buffalo and elsewhere, particularly those from Polish and Italian traditions. Breeding specialized pigeons for competitions became a way to preserve cultural heritage, and rooftop pigeon coops became commonplace in many parts of the city. In the 1920s and 30s, some large poultry and pigeon shows were held at the Old Polish Union Hall of Fillmore Avenue. During my research, I've lost my spot. During my research, I found a number of other news stories from the 1920s about pigeon heists. One attempt occurred at the home of Louis Petrovsky at 108 Warren Avenue, but the owner stopped the theft. That same year, an 18-year-old was sentenced to 20 days in the penitentiary for stealing a pigeon valued at $10 from Ignaz Krull of Amherst Street. It seems that you really needed to keep a lock on your pigeon coop during the Depression. There are an estimated 400 million pigeons around the world, mostly city pigeons. City pigeons are descended from rock doves who lived on rocky coastal cliffs. They quickly adapted to urban areas as tall buildings resembled their native habitat and provide safe nesting spots. In the cities, the feral birds also have access to food scraps and humans who enjoy feeding them. But city pigeons are generally considered pests and sometimes referred to as, quote, rats with wings, end quote, because of their droppings and reputation for spreading disease. Like many other American cities, Buffalo experienced a massive influx of pigeons in the 20th century, especially downtown. Some residents encouraged their proliferation by feeding them, while others tried to scare them off with firecrackers. In 1945, the Buffalo Common Council unanimously approved an ordinance proposed by Health Commissioner Dr. Francis Franchak that allowed for the trapping and humane removal of pigeons. The Buffalo News reported that the, quote, pestiferous flocks had caused, quote, thousands of dollars worth of damage and added to the shabby appearance of many parts of downtown, end quote. While he was pleased with the ordinance, Dr. Franchak pointed out that, quote, if we continue to feed them, we'll always have them, end quote. Franchak later selected 4 experienced pigeon fanciers to operate the pigeon trapping program, including Henry J. Jezwiecki, who was president of the Buffalo Pigeon Racing Center. By 1954, it was reported that the pigeon problem was under control. Victor Butkowski, supervisor for pigeon control and superintendent of the small animal shelter, said that complaints had dropped dramatically due to an aggressive policy of trapping and shooting pigeons, along with other measures. However, the pigeon problem was replaced with a new one: large groups of starlings. Today, Poland has an outstanding reputation in the world of pigeon breeding and is Europe's largest community of pigeon breeders. In fact, Edward Krychowiak of Mierzejna, Poland, recently won 2 awards at the 30th European Exhibition of Animals in Slovakia. The organization's website said 5,562 pigeons were registered to compete at the event. Edward's birds were named the most beautiful in the Gałpin white-headed pigeon and Szczecin short-beaked pigeon breed categories. A couple of years ago, one of the world's most famous pigeon lovers was photographed as he visited a Polish breeder to buy pigeons. Former world heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson went to the small village of Piotnica in northeastern Poland to buy 100 pigeons from a local dealer. Tyson once told People magazine that he owns hundreds, maybe 1,000 pigeons across the United States, and that pigeons were his first friends as a boy. One of the reasons that pigeons are valued in Poland may be because of an ancient legend. The version I heard is that after Prince Henryk IV Probus assumed the throne of Kraków in the 13th century, he wanted to crown himself King of Poland. However, he didn't have the money needed to go to Rome to gain the Pope's support. He then made a deal with an old witch for the needed money. However, when the sorceress appeared at the market square empty-handed, he ordered his army to imprison her. Before they could do that, she transformed the prince's soldiers into pigeons. They then flew up to St. Mary's Church and began to peck out little pieces of brick, which, when dropped to the ground, turned into gold coins. The prince gathered the treasure and made his way to Italy. He never reached Rome, however, because he lost all the money along the way on wine, women, and song. Humiliated, he never returned to Kraków either, while his faithful warriors remained enchanted and awaiting his return. During my time in Poland, I saw large numbers of pigeons in all the town squares, especially the one in Kraków. While pigeons may be looked down upon in some places, they seem to be warmly welcomed there, especially by the young children who fearlessly ran through the large flocks of flapping birds. What a great feature by Tom Tarapaczki. And who knew about pigeons? Boy, I learn a lot reading the Am-Pol Eagle. Okay. Pulaski Association hosts Christmas around the world. 2 photographs. One of a very large decorated Christmas tree with presents underneath it. And one is a photograph of a school hall, church hall, probably a school hall because I see the backboard for the basketball court, and I see a stage in the distance and a scoreboard. But around the room, there are tables set up and Christmas trees, lots of them. I'd have to guess maybe 20. Hard to tell. They're all decorated. So let's see what this is about. Christmas Around the World, sponsored by the General Pulaski Association, continues this weekend at St. Teresa Parish Center, 35 Mineral Springs Road in South Buffalo, New York. On Saturday, December 13th, from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., it's the Polish Christmas Extravaganza, featuring music by 7 polka band from 1 to 4 p.m. and Hocus Polka's Party from 6 to 9 p.m. Also meet Joyce Karaszewski-Brzezinski, 1964 Pulaski Day Parade Princess from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. The event includes a full bar, pierogi, sausage flights, mini gołąbki, mini banana breads, and pictures with Santa. On Sunday, December 14th from noon to 5 p.m., it's off to Italy. The day begins with blessing of the Bambini during St. Teresa's Mass from 11 to 12. Bring baby Jesus from your nativity scene for a special blessing, along with Italian soup, food, and desserts to be announced. St. Teresa's Parish Center is transformed into a winter wonderland, adorned with thousands of ornaments and lights. As part of the festivities, the Pulaski Association provides information about each culture and their traditions, along with displays recognizing Hanukkah, Vishakha Puja Day, Ramadan, Eid al-Fitr, Lunar New Year, Diwali, Winter Solstice, St. Lucia Day, and Kwanzaa. A full schedule of Christmas around the world activities through January 4th can be found at website generalpulaski.com. I have to say, I used to live not far from St. Teresa's, and I'd love to see these trees and maybe check out some sausage flights, and even have my picture taken with Santa, and go back on Sunday for some of that Italian soup. I love Italian wedding soup, and hopefully they would have cuccidati, those wonderful fig-filled Italian cookies that are made for Christmas. Oh, I love those. Okay, so many things to do. Let's see. Scrolling along. St. Aloysius Gonzaga Christmas Fair was fun for all. This is by Wendy Wasner. The gym at St. Aloysius Gonzaga Parish in Cheektowaga was filled December 6th with Christmas time as folks attended the Christmas fair. It was impressive to see the number of booths set up for those to try their luck on winning toys, stuffed animals, Christmas-themed items, throws, and much more. There was even an opportunity to try to win a turkey or ham. The bake sale featured grape pies, coffee cakes, cookies, and other delicious treats. Santa Claus visited with the young ones to find out what they wished to receive from Santa this year. The kitchen was serving up an array of home-style food items at prices that wouldn't break the bank. Theme baskets filled many tables as attendees tried on the fun items in hopes to win them for themselves or perhaps to give as a gift. The Christmas fair was an event to remember and put on the calendar for next year. The photographs show quite a lot of displays. They had vendors running the length of the basketball court, actually, and decorated beautifully. I see Santa, and tough to make out in this bottom picture, young women sitting, and these displays are just amazing. Stuffed toys and games and puzzles and all kinds of stuff. So remember that for next year if you didn't make it this year. Now, okay, we're coming to a recipe, so get ready. I'll tell you what, before, this is a pretty good length of an article. So I'm going to take our last break before we jump into this one. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Am-Pol Eagle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Okay, I hope you've had a couple seconds extra to get yourself set up for finding the perfect pierogi recipe. And this is by Wendy Wanser. The other day, I picked up the phone and dialed my cousin Billy's number. It was nice to catch up with him. One of the main reasons for my call was to ask him for my Aunt Alice's, Billy's mother, pierogi recipe. He happily shared his mother's pierogi dough recipe as well as the farmer's cheese filling ingredients and told me some tricks to achieving the perfect pierogi dough. One was to be sure to sift the flour. He explained how he uses a food processor. He went on to tell me the steps he used to take to make the pierogi perfect. His daughter, Alicia, has now taken over the task of pierogi making. Billy said that her pierogi last Christmas tasted just like his mother's did. Aunt Alice's pierogi were the best. I looked forward to them every Christmas. Billy also mentioned that the sour cream makes the dough. People remember that because I've never made pierogi dough without sour cream. I never took the time to sift the flour. My dough would never roll thinly. Every year, usually around Easter, I would go to the grocery store all excited to buy the big bag of flour, a container of eggs, and a huge package of farmer's cheese. I would wheel the cart of pierogi making ingredients up to the checkout aisle, all excited. Then I would go home and begin the pierogi making endeavor. There would be flour everywhere. The dough would not roll out thin enough. My bad shoulders didn't help matters. The big pot of water on the stove would begin to boil. I would carefully place 2 pierogi at a time in the water and wait until the pierogi floated to the top. I would gingerly remove the delicious-looking pierogi out of the water and place them on a cookie sheet. I would continue to do this until all the pierogi were done. I usually would make 3 batches of dough. This chef's endeavor took a while and definitely was not good for someone with a bad back. Eventually, I would be sitting in front of a plate full of a couple mouth-watering farmer's cheese-filled pierogi that I had just sautéed in butter with some black pepper and parsley flakes along with chopped onion. I would take my first bite of a pirog, which was delicious even though the dough was way too thick. I then had the daunting task of cleaning up the kitchen. Dishes were never my favorite chore. I never met pierogi that I did not like throughout the years. And I have tried many brands. Some were locally made and others came from a box in the freezer section of the store. One thing pierogi sure do is take me back in time to the Christmas meal from long ago that I wish was still taking place today. I think now I have the best pierogi recipe. I just need time, patience, and courage to undertake the art of pierogi making and see if the pierogi creation will come close to my Aunt Alice's pierogi. If not, I may have to resort to buying them made already once and for all. Okay, we're going to start with the pierogi recipe, the dough ingredients. 2 cups of flour, 1 large egg, half a cup sour cream, half a cup unsalted softened butter. So you sift 2 cups of flour into a bowl. You add in 1 large egg and combine. You work in a half a cup unsalted softened butter and a half a cup sour cream until the dough comes together in a slightly sticky ball. Knead dough until smooth. Wrap dough in plastic wrap. Refrigerate for 1 hour. Next is the farmer's cheese filling. So, 1 pound of farmer's cheese, 1 beaten egg, plus 1 egg yolk, a half a cup of powdered sugar. Mix all ingredients in a bowl, cover with plastic wrap, place in refrigerator until ready to fill the dough. Using plenty of flour, roll out dough and cut into large circles using a coffee mug or a glass. Fill circles with farmer's cheese. Close circle into half-moon shape and seal edges on both sides of the pierogi using a fork dipped in flour. Add 2 pierogi at a time into pot of boiling water. Once the pierogi float to the top, remove them from the water with a slotted spoon. Place aside. Keep doing this until all pierogi are made. Sauté pierogi in butter until desired appearance, depending on how brown you want it. You may add sautéed onions. Optional, serve with sour cream, and enjoy. So this is your reader who has made many, many pierogi. My recipe for the dough calls for 5 or 6 cups of flour, so it's a much bigger recipe. But what our recipe does, you mix the eggs and the sour cream together, and you melt the butter, and you eventually add the butter in as well. So you've got, and I do it in a Pyrex measuring cup. So you mix the butter and the sour cream and the egg together. And then you pour that into the dough. That gives you more liquid to work with than just adding 1 large egg. And my sister is the chief chef for making farmer's cheese filling. She basically puts in everything that is in Wendy's or Aunt Alice's recipe here, and but she puts in cinnamon and probably a little more sugar. Hers are on the sweet side, but there's cinnamon and sugar. And if you like cinnamon, which my family does, they are just delicious. So, making pierogi is not difficult. Another thing, we don't refrigerate the dough after we make it. It's nice and soft and pretty easy to roll out in the beginning. It's after multiple rollouts that you just kind of give up and maybe make some kind of kluski or dumplings from it. But if you don't refrigerate it, it's a nice soft dough that's pretty easy to roll out thin. Get a nice thin, not too, you don't want it see-through, because then your filling is going to burst out in that boiling pot and make another mess to clean up. So I hope the recipe serves you well, and the tips for making pierogi. If you're going to do potato pierogi, which is another favorite, I always make my pierogi potato filling the night before. It shortens your pierogi making day, and it gives the potatoes time to cool down, because you don't want to put hot potatoes on that soft, buttery dough. And so you make your mashed potato filling, and whether you want to mix it with farmer's cheese or with cheddar cheese or American cheese, or you want to put sautéed onions in it, or you want to put sautéed bacon in it, whatever your family likes in their pierogi. And maybe you can even be a little experimental and come up with some other ideas. Maybe some chives for like a baked potato pierogi. Who knows? You might like it. So I'm done. Those are my final tips for pierogi making. And now I have to think about when I'm going to make my Christmas pierogi. We have a few more minutes, so let's go to polkas on tap. We have Let's see here. This evening, Saturday, December 13th, Christmas Around the World, from 6 to 9 p.m. tonight, Hocus Pocus will be playing polkas, and there's free admission at the St. Teresa's Roman Catholic Church Parish Center, 33 Mineral Springs in South Buffalo, New York. Food, beer, and wine available for purchase. Also, this evening, Polka Boosters Christmas Party at Depew Polish Falcons, 445 Columbia Avenue in Depew, from 5:30 to 10:30 p.m. It says advance tickets only. If you really want to go, maybe you can talk your way in. But New Direction Band is playing. And then on Sunday, December 21st at 16 Ellicott Place in Depew, New York, from 5 to 8 p.m., Special Delivery is playing. Okay. Winterlude set at Blessed Sacrament Church. Blessed Sacrament Church, 1029 Delaware Avenue in Buffalo, New York, will present Winterlude on Friday, December 19th at 7 p.m. The evening begins with Vasily Kalinikov's charming serenade, followed by the Adagio for string trio and string orchestra by the all-but-forgotten Belgian genius Guillaume Lecu, the rousing Inverno Porteño, Winter in Buenos Aires by Astor Piazzolla, who I'm a fan, featuring soloist Shi Yan Sai, tops off the first half of the program. After intermission, the evening is complete with Serenade for Strings by Josef Suk, written as a student at the behest of his mentor, Antonin Dvorak. Purchase tickets at the door or online at eventbrite.com. Admission is $24 by season pass or $20 at the door when accompanied by a youth 17 and under. It is free with an arts access pass. I'm going to have to look into that arts access pass. I've heard of it. And I can't remember if it's just for seniors, but it's a good deal. So, and that sounds like a marvelous, marvelous concert. So, I'm scrolling through to see if there's anything. Okay, gorgeous photographs. Christmas in Kaisertown. Photos courtesy of Lala Markut. Christmas in Kaisertown was celebrated on Friday, December 5th, 2025. Santa and Mrs. Claus arrived by fire engine. Horse-drawn wagons were available to take a ride, and even Jack the Christmas donkey attended for everyone to meet. Maknika Center and Autumnwood Senior Center were open for crafters and vendors for purchasing unique gifts. Music was provided by Accordion Bill and later by Third Story Band, and food trucks were there with some tasty treats. The highlight was the lighting of the tree by St. Casimir's own Marcia Skrzynski and Jeanette Pavlak. These ladies have been longtime active members of the Kaisertown Coalition and worked tirelessly for it in addition to other Kaisertown organizations. Councilman Brian Bowman presented them with an official proclamation to declare and commemorate their history and causes for their still-owned neighborhood. And apparently there is a photograph of the two of them, pulling the switch for the Christmas tree lights. And they were active for over 40 years in Kaisertown. Time to wrap it up. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the December 11th, 2025 issue of the Am-Pol Eagle. We read from the Am-Pol Eagle. We read from the Am-Pol Eagle every Saturday at 3 p.m. Your reader has been Joanne Janitsky. Thank you for listening. Do widzenia.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Grand Island Niagara County Tribune Sentinel. At 5 o'clock, we have the Lockport Union Southern Journal. And at 6 o'clock, we've got the Wall Street Journal Off Duty. Stay tuned for these readings and more. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Zero, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision,